Is the quarterback depth chart set, do you think, or do you think it's fluid? Because, I mean, I was talking to Clay Kubiak and Brian Greasy about Mordecai. They really like Mordecai. And then when I look at Brandon Allen, I think, well, in a lot of ways, Brandon Allen has as much experience as Josh Dobbs. And it's like, yeah, in our mind, it's Purdy's the 1, Dobbs is the 2, Allen's the 3, Mordecai's the 4. But when you take a close look at it, I kind of wonder if that thing is fluid and up for debate. And like, what if Mordecai plays really well in the preseason? What if Brandon Allen moves the team better in the preseason than Dobbs? Could Allen be the 2 and Mordecai be the 3? Could Dobbs get cut? The assumption is that it's going to be Mordecai who gets cut and winds up on the practice squad. And the other 3 guys, and maybe even Allen gets cut. Maybe they go 2 quarterbacks. But I don't know. The more I look at the Niner quarterback thing, to me, it seems like it was designed to be a set hierarchy, but I don't know if it's going to play out the way that they had originally planned.
I know you tweeted out that video. Was Brandon Allen getting snaps ahead of Josh Dobbs when you guys were there?
He was. I mean, there's an order of everything, and Purdy was taking the first rep, Allen was taking the second rep, Dobbs was taking the third rep.
Yeah, and I just wonder if that's the case because Allen was with this team last year, Dobbs was not. But then Grant said that Dobbs went like 9 of 11 or whatever. I know that you're not into training camp statistics, but either way, like this is what Dobbs has been able to do, right? Last year, goes to Arizona. He's going to be the spot starter for Kyler Murray. And if you remember early in the year, Arizona was really feisty. They beat the Dallas Cowboys, and then he gets traded to Minnesota after the Kirk Cousins injury, and he gets traded during the week. And without really any game preparation, he stepped in after not starting, and he led the Vikings to an incredible win down the stretch on the road against, I believe, Atlanta, where he's making plays with his legs, he's making plays with his arm, and he accounted for 3 or 4 touchdowns. So his ability to master the offense quickly is really impressive. He's a good backup for a couple of starts. Anything beyond that, that's when he starts to struggle a little bit. As for Brandon Allen, he's the backup to Joe Burrow, so he has that. He's very well respected. I think that at some point he's going to be a quality coach in this league because I get that from everything that I've kind of gathered in listening to him speak and how he conducts his business and earning the respect of Kyle Shanahan. And then, of course, with Zach Taylor, too, with the Cincinnati Bengals. But look, he's so limited and he can't run. He doesn't really have dynamic ability in that way. His arm is completely average. With Tanner Mordecai, it's a player that you at least want to groom and develop. He's got the 4.4, 4.5 speed. He's got a pretty good arm. He's put up really big numbers at the college level. I think this is a little bit different than the Brock Purdy situation because, during Purdy's rookie year, I had said, Purdy's too good for this team to cut. He performed too well in the preseason for them to cut him. If they cut him, he is not going to be back on the practice squad. So they have to have him on this 53-man roster. They saw it the same that I did, and he cracked the 53-man roster. A surprise to many, not to me and you, because we were both really impressed with what he was able to do. Mordecai, on the other hand, might be a player that you can cut, put him on the practice squad, and then you can try to develop him into a quality backup given the intriguing athleticism and the skill set that he does have.
What if Mordecai plays well in a preseason game?
He's got to take the spot over Brandon Allen, I think.
I know, but I mean, think about it from the rest of the league. The 49ers found Brock Purdy, and they discovered him. And now here comes like another undrafted free agent, kind of similar, guy who's played a lot of football. Really smart. I mean, I asked Clay Kubiak about him. He's like, he's super. I could give me a word that describes Mordecai. He's like, he's super competitive. Well, that's a great one. And then he said he's really, really smart, and the ball comes out with some pretty good accuracy. Well, I mean, let's just say he plays really well in the preseason, and your team, you're the Raiders, and you got Gardner Minshew and the Aiden O'Connell, and you don't really have a solid number one. And the 49ers picked Brock Purdy, and the same group that picked Brock Purdy picked this kid Mordecai, and he looked good in the preseason. Aren't you looking to pick him off? And then in that situation, Does Mordecai make your team and you cut loose one of the other guys? A lot of people are like, Krug, you're getting way too excited about Tanner Mordecai, and I get it. But there aren't that many quarterbacks that run 4.45. And when you watch him throw short and intermediate, the ball comes out on time with accuracy and with pretty good zip. And then, you got people around him. Greasy lit up when I started talking to him about, what Greasy told me. He's like, I said, I said, Kyle and John credit you, Brian, with helping them kind of believe in Purdy. And you were charged with looking at the quarterbacks for this draft, and you liked Mordecai. What did you like about Mordecai? And I'm trying to peel the onion on it. And he's like, well, you know what? I'm friends with Luke Fickell. And I talked to Luke Fickell before the draft, and he told me, of all the players I have in this draft this year, if there was one guy that I would stand on the table and scream out loud for, it would be Tanner Mordecai.
Interesting.
He said the guys loved playing for him. There was never any doubt when he broke the hand against Iowa that he was going to play in the bowl game, which was like 5 weeks later, I think, against LSU. He played in that game. He threw for 378 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. They didn't win the game, but he said the guys love Mordecai. He's mature. He's smart. He's a leader. He's humble, but he's also super competitive, and they loved him. And he's the guy that I would pound the table for or jump up on the table and argue for. That, to me, told me that what I'm seeing is real. And that, like, I'm not saying he's Brock Purdy, but I don't think he's a bum. And I don't think he's a guy that for sure is going to lose the, quarterback job to Brandon Allen. I think there's a possibility. And it'll be interesting to see if he plays well in the preseason. Do the Niners fear him getting picked off and put him on the team, or do they expose him to the waivers and maybe watch him wind up in Vegas or someplace? I think it's going to be interesting to watch.
That's of note because Brian Gracie's done a hell of a job with Brock Purdy. Luke Fickell coached Desmond Ridder at Cincinnati, and Desmond Ridder looks as though he's going to be a bust. So for him to be so complimentary of Tanner Mordecai, I think is really interesting. And then you think about what you can build off of, right, with a quarterback. Toughness, team rallying around you, team really likes you, leadership qualities. He put up numbers for 2 seasons in college football for SMU and I believe Wisconsin, or if it maybe
it was Oklahoma. He sat, and then he went to SMU, put up some monster numbers, and then finished the 1 year at Wisconsin.
So the
it was like 9 touchdowns, 4 picks the last year.
Okay, the 2 years of really good production were at SMU, which it's a solid level of football.
We're talking about 35, roughly 35 touchdowns, 10 picks.
Exactly. Both seasons too, with a lot of yards thrown. And what can you build off of, right? Athleticism. You've got a quarterback running 4.4, 4.5. That's intriguing. And can you work with his feet? Can you improve his mechanics a little bit? I have seen that maybe the arm motion is a little bit loopy. You can refine those things. Look at some of the changes that Trey Lance was able to make. Look at the changes that quarterbacks can make in that area. And then if you can complete balls and get it out with timing and accuracy, short, intermediate, you can develop that deep ball a little bit. So there's something to work with here, which is why I think you're bullish on him, which is why I think Luke Fickell and Brian Gracie are like, there's something there. And I'm excited to see his development. Those are the types of stories that make preseason football, to me, a lot of fun. Because when you can see Tanner Mordecai in that 3rd and 4th quarter, like we saw Brock Purdy a couple of years ago in the 3rd and 4th quarter, you can figure out if a player can play or not.